Yes, Gauri ma'am, we are live now.
Yes, yes. I'm just getting my video on. Okay. Okay. Hello and welcome to Dil Ki Baatein, one of the many resources offered by Gen S Life on their app. On Wednesdays, I do this session, which is its format. I'm Gouri Dange, um, counselor and writer. The session is also live on YouTube as it goes on, as it progresses. And in the future, we'll be putting these sessions on YouTube too once they're edited and ready for that format. So you'll be able to see previous previous things that we have tackled, that we've discussed. So it's this question and answer format. A person sends a question to a WhatsApp number that we provide on the chat later. Um, and of course, be assured that no identities are revealed here at all. They're not even revealed to me. The WhatsApp number is with the people at that end, and I only get the questions. So, what are the kind of issues that we have for the last 9 or 10 weeks since December? What have come up? What kind of things? It's a range of things that people struggle with: couple dynamics, living alone and single, heartbreak, romance in the senior years, grief, intergenerational interactions, staying relevant and useful, being heard, finding your own tribe. This is the broad flow of the kind of questions that we get, and nothing is taboo. You can ask whatever you like here, and nothing is too minor. We don't feel, but this is such a small thing. This is so common, which is even better. If it is something that connects to people across the board, however common it is, it means it's something that needs to be addressed. So that's what we do here. So the theme this week, like I announced last week, is about how do we, as seniors, make sure that younger people are registering what we speak. So last week we had a question from somebody saying, how do I get younger people to speak so that seniors respond and engage? This is from the other end. This question has come from the other end of the tunnel, where I'll read the question soon. So this theme is about how do we get younger people to register what you're saying, whether it's waiters, bank people, shopkeepers across the counter, salespeople in stores, repairmen, daily help, clerks, how to be understood and be served better without having to raise your voice or repeat yourself a lot. I think lots of seniors will not, why seniors, even people 50 and above will relate to this. So here's the question. The question is from a couple, Bina and Ashutosh. They say, ma'am, these days I feel like I can't get things done without nagging younger people who are attending to our needs, be it in the family or in a restaurant or in a bank or in a shop. Because many of them are doing two, three things at the same time. I just can't make out कि इसने सुना है, समझा है या नहीं. So I end up repeating myself, and sometimes I realize it is quite irritating to them, the younger people, because they are multitasking and have actually heard what you have asked for, and they will attend to you. But how should we know this? At times I realize I have repeat. At times I realize I have to repeat, or they get the order all wrong. Say in a restaurant, I think, or don't listen to you when you are giving directions and landmarks to a taxi driver on the phone to come to you at the other end of a call. The Ubers and Olas. Sometimes even in a lab for taking blood test, they are not listening carefully. They're not reading the paper that I have taken carefully, and I have to double check whether they wrote or put in their computer. What they wrote or put in their computer is what she's saying. Hi, Sunita. Welcome. Uh, Many of us of our age group, she writes, they both write, are frustrated and don't know how to be served properly without raising our voice or repeating, or then just being ignored or only half attended to. Is there some way we can develop a better way to be heard and understood? They add, I also want to add a related question. in a gathering of few people, maybe not our closest friends, I find that no one really wants to listen to someone else. They wait for you to finish what you're saying so that they can say what they want to say. This becomes very boring. It is not a conversation at all. I begin to wonder if I am with the wrong sort of people, or have I become a monotonous person? Or sometimes I feel that it is better not to meet people. Beena and Ashutosh. So I'm sure I, for one, do relate to this question myself. What we are hearing in this question is that, like Beena and Ashutosh and thousands of people across the world are finding a huge communication barrier gap in getting what used to be perhaps easier earlier. Getting what? Attention, engagement, and understanding. The simple three things for if you want to be attended to. Suddenly that's become at a premium because I think earlier maybe you had a token system, say at the bank or at any other place. And when your time came, you went and stood and you could be attended to fully. Now, perhaps that is also not such a thing because the other person is also pressured to multitask, to handle six people at the same time. And the proliferation of technology. The person's laptop is on, his phone is on, there may be something else on, there must be some internal, in the laptop, there may be six screens open, required maybe by work or just by habit. It has become a habit for this generation to just multitask. They just almost don't know how to just, what is it called? Just go linearly into an issue. There are so many parallel tracks kept open, which has led to this kind of breakdown in communication and leaving seniors feeling frustrated and ignored, as they have written. Uh, so, and it's difficult to discern, even if that person in front of you is very good at what they're doing, multitasking. But how do we know, as they have put it, and I felt so, what can one say, so sad to hear this, that the person is saying, how do we know that you've got what we are saying? We don't want to irritate you. We don't want to repeat, but show us a sign that you have taken on board what we have said. So, let's see, we'll throw it open to others also. Let's see how some of this, the consequences of this, of this inadequate communication, they are so severe. The consequences can be very severe, ranging from incorrect orders, maybe misdiagnosis in medical settings, and possibly isolation, where they're saying they're wondering whether we should just stop going out in a larger social thing. Uh, People are also encouraged heavily not to go to the bank or not to go to that insurance office, but to do everything online. So we'll come to that from our side as seniors, we also may have to get a little more with the program in terms of what's the best way to be heard. And it may not necessarily be by landing up at that place. So the patterns are changing, how people receive information and what they do with it and how they even communicate or fail to communicate. Yes, I have received what you're saying. And I think that is a bare minimum. And let's see how we can, hope to get some of that. So, you could say, I'm just imagining where you say gently without shouting or being irritated that, unless you tell me that you've heard and understood what my issue is, me and all the others here will wonder if we need to repeat or raise our voice or simply go away and make a written complaint online. Here's your little veiled threat also thrown in. Just find a way to acknowledge, tell us, yes, ma'am. This is also lack of training, obviously. And it's also because younger people in their own tribe are managing. They're managing because they all can read each other. They've learned how to function in this highly chopped up attention span world that they inhabit. But we are not. And what we can ask them is can you find a way of acknowledging? Just tell me, or give me a token number or something so that I know that while you are, have so many things up in the air juggling, one of them is my issue. So I'll know That at some time you'll catch my issue. You can find a humorous way of saying it. You can say it kindly. Uh, Maybe even write it down when you go to a place. Write it down. It is true that at a restaurant, uh, given we are used to the Udupi restaurant culture or even the much larger, fancier restaurant culture, where the person doesn't take out a pencil and scribble it. It's just in their mind. The only place I still see people scribbling the order waiters is on a train journey because he's going through several compartments. But otherwise, in your average Udupi restaurant, they get it right, and we have been used to that. Maybe if you say in a place where obviously the new waiter or the less trained waiter or the attention deficit waiter is not going to get it right, you will see several wrong orders coming in, even if you're a small group of 5 or 6. Then maybe you, as a half joke, or really, get them to accept, I like to do this. And take out a paper and pencil when everybody's orders. It is a bit chaotic. And we must admit that as seniors, we are often talking at the same time, or as Indians, let's say, as Indians, we all talk at the same time. And we are changing our mind. And we are discussing something, and the person doesn't know whether that's so is it waffles with chocolate sauce, or is it an omelette, or because you're discussing so much. So maybe one of the devices is in any situation, even with a repairman coming, that you write down after you've discussed what needs to be done. Just scribble down and make it appear like you're writing it for yourself. But if the person has access to it, see, you may have noticed that even the over dependence on technology, if you're sending a dunzo type thing even within your city, the person is so trained to not write anything down that sometimes the system collapses on him. He'll reach somewhere and there's an outage and he has no information. So even if I appear like a fussy old lady, I will put somebody's number down on the packet that I send, either mine or the receiver's, big bold thing. So at least they have something outside of the internet system to track where they have to reach. So writing down, I feel, is still something. I think we're the last generation that writes down things. Is maybe a device useful to you and to that overworked person or the attention deficit person. Uh, Another thing is, I feel we have to, given the scenario they've described, which many of us deal with. Another thing is, I think that we have to maybe make peace with, that situation of that film, 51st Dates, where every morning this girl has forgotten the previous day fully. And I wonder if we might have to just acknowledge that this is how it is. Next morning, suppose the person who comes to clean your house, how many of us have said this? अरे every day क्यों बोलना पड़ता है, रोज क्यों बोलना है? Will accept, make your peace, because she works in 7 different houses, so she's not equipped to keep your pattern in mind, maybe. So why not whiteboard it? You have it on the thing and whiteboard it if she can read, or you can do little drawing scribbles about what needs to be dusted, without getting mad inside and wishing for a time when daily help was like a genie and said, your wish is my command, and did what you said. Doesn't exist. And so let's find a way to work around, so where they're almost second guessing what you want and doing it quietly in the background. If it's not happening, if it's not how it functions now, then how to give yourself less aggravation. One part of it would be this, where you just accept this. Maybe like every day is a new day. Every day is a new day. It may be tedious, but you could get creative with it. You could, have little cards which you draw, paint, print out, whatever, for your chores that need to be done. If there is a repairman in your house and you have told him or her 4 different things, including 1 or 2 which are minor, which in that ADHD kind of, very chopped up attention span, the person tends to then remember only the big things when they're going to suppose he tells you, I'll just go to the market and get X, Y, Z, and whatever, ABC. for what we need to do for your repairs. Instead of you sitting there and fuming, saying he will get it, but he will forget that one little spring of that one little tap that he will not get. And sure enough, he'll forget it, and then the whole repair is done, and wo reh hi jata hai sometimes, and you just give up on it. Why not make a little list and say, tell me what all you're getting from the market. Now, this is maybe a little parental or grandparental to sit and tell somebody, tell me what you're getting. But it's better than, biting your nails and saying, being frustrated. And it may just help that guy to have it written down somewhere. Uh, you know, is the so when I'm saying that to adapt and embrace technology, you may make that list and send it to him on his WhatsApp. If he's a young guy who never looks at chittis, anything written, you may send it on a WhatsApp to him, saying when you get to the thing, just tick off, okay, that you're getting all this stuff. More than as a to do it, not so much as I know you're incompetent and that's why I'm helping you. More than that, it's let me make this easier for you. Let me make this easier for you. So complex information or forgettable small things get put down, tacked down somewhere more effectively. And for a larger thing like a bank or your insurance guys or whatever, putting down an email or messaging a WhatsApp after you come back to sum up what it is that you'll have agreed on. Not to get very official and agreementation signed, but to sum it up and send it off to them. Thank you for meeting me. I'm glad we're going to be tackling this, and this. That reduces the likelihood of misinterpretation or all of it to, just whoosh out of the person's head. And, and it sums things up. Importantly, it also stops the person from adding it as one more mental chore, which then falls off his board. And what's happened is I think they also got used to us badgering, maybe. So it's becoming like self-fulfilling. I badger, so you know I'm going to say it 10 times to you. And so I don't keep it in my head. I wonder if there are some ways to break this, which is what I'm saying, which is if you just send a list of what you expect will be the end result of this particular task. Also, it is a two-way street. We must remember, like I was saying, when we order food and stuff, that older people can do their bit to improve communication. Take one thing at a time. Maybe go with stuff written down. So because you get the person's attention, you're so anxious that now that I've got his attention, let me say it all, that you may end up overloading the person with information. So maybe that, which is to speak clearly, list things, use simple language, avoid the complaining part of it because then they're zoning out. Don't complain, just say, this is what I want done. I feel disengage from the emotional part of it, which frustrates us. Avoid ambiguity or piling up the list of what needs to be done all in one go, only because right then that person is listening to you. So you feel, chalo bol lete hain saath mein. Right, possibly writing it down. As for, they talk about, Bina and Ashutosh talk about social situations where we are in a world it is attention deficit. It is a little, and I'm using this word very carefully, it is a bit narcissistic. This world has become a narcissistic world. I want to go for a party and showcase what I want to showcase, and I'm not much interested in anybody else. This is a reality. And their solution, which is sounding like a sad and desperate solution, is we're wondering whether we should just stop going out to these places and stick only to your core friends. Maybe that's an option, but the fear here is isolation. The fear here is isolation. All said and done, if you start shrinking your world to only apne jaise types, it'll be this smaller world. And there may be other people, and perhaps you can find a way to be with these larger groups, social groups, in a perfunctory way, in a casual way. Just be there casually. Just don't even think that you need to. So you enjoy the interaction at a very superficial level if you're not heard. But uh, it creates an monotonous and unfulfilling experience like this, uh, with that feeling of isolation and disconnection. But uh, in when we're talking about adapting our communication method, uh, you could. I'll just tell you one thing that it occurred to me, whether you can do it, and I had scribbled it down. Um, Remember, I'd said that for the person in a work situation, you say gently, unless you acknowledge that you've heard and you're going to come back to this, how will I know? That's one thing. But in a social situation, I wonder if one can sort of stop somebody as gently as possible and say one, or if it's not just one person who's interrupting you or not listening, or it's two, three, I wonder if you can, like we stepped out of our interaction role or interaction mode and told the clerk that, unless you acknowledge to me that you heard me, I'll go on bugging you with the same question. We stepped out of the interaction and we are standing aside and telling them something. I'm just one sec looking for the scribble. I know what I want to tell you, but I put it down. Yeah, suppose you say, by saying but before you say what you want to say, to contribute to the conversation. What if you said, uh, "Can I, can I, can I speak? I have something very specific to say about this. Uh, can I speak? I want to make a point here." So you're stepping out of trying to just swim into the conversation and hope somebody will accommodate your entry into the conversation. And you're stepping aside out of the pool and saying, मुझे कुछ कहना है, सुनेंगे क्या? Without sounding pathetic or bitter or stuffy. You're not saying, I want to now give you lecture 101 on something. You're not saying that. But it kind of pushes people into not just zoning in and out of the conversation. And then those who don't want to listen may float off. While they're sitting there also, they may float off. But somebody else may say, yes, I want to know. It's a form of taking yourself seriously also and saying, I have something to contribute to this conversation. So again, it's part of adapting to the changing communication landscape. Here, it's not embracing technology, as we were saying earlier. Some of it may be embracing technology, where you're sending out lists or you're sending off an email, rounding up what was agreed on. This is more, again, a social interjection, but without the fear of, somebody just cutting off. I think, sorry to say, but this is also a very, very Indian trait, is interrupting and just saying what I want to say, even socially. It is a very Indian trait. So maybe one can flip that slightly by just saying something like this, which is either engage in a perfunctory and casual way, and don't hope to have a very communicative time with that lot of people, and have that kind of time with your core friends. Or even in that lot, if you want to say, listen, I have something very specific to say, as I said. Want to hear? I want to say this thing. And you may pick up on what somebody else said. So you're demonstrating that you too are listening actively, attentively. And those three words we use at the beginning, which is where people want, attention, to be heard. They want attention. They want understanding. They want acknowledgement. All of it comes into the picture if you are able to, and when you interject, to include what the previous person said. Instead of, okay, sab log ka ho gaya, baat kar liya. Now I have as I said, lecture 101 to give on this topic. Not that. Remaining in the sort of stream of a social conversation, but not just feeling the frustration of not being heard at all. I wonder if this is one thing, but one of the aids with it is to reference what somebody else has already said. You understand? I hope this is this point I'm making clearly. Uh, Now, so I just wonder if these are some of the what is it? They're not tricks and tips. They are just accepting that communication has turned into I wouldn't say an art, but a technique, becoming a technique now. It's not naturally flowing. Um, all of us of a certain age were brought up, either we saw our own parents or relatives or older siblings doing this quite naturally, to have a sort of graceful give and take in a conversation. Um, and now suddenly it's not there. And it's funny, but I think even some of us who are the same age but have forgotten those some of those niceties in that hurry to say your thing, and to make your effect on the assembled company. So I wonder if there is some way of slowly bringing that back, but not in its natural form, because it seems to be not coming back in its natural form. But if we can gently force the level of discourse to be a little more inclusive and less, what is it, oratorial, where everybody just comes and orates and says their thing and leaves, you know. Um, One last thing is this, I feel for anything, in all the things we've been talking about in the last few weeks, the answer can't be फिर उधर जाएंगे ही नहीं, shouldn't be. You may reduce it, but that is a sure short way of erecting walls and isolating yourself, including things like driving or going to an area which is crowded, or negotiating a crowded area, but it's worth it because something good is at the other end. It's very tempting. It's that we're all feeling our age in terms of Indian cities and their traffic and their lawless, their poor rules of engagement on the roads. But I think all of us have flirted with and toyed with this thing of फिर जाएंगे ही नहीं है, let's just become recluses. बस ये Zoom पे करेंगे सब. I meet my best friends on Zoom. We'll do cheers with a glass of wine, and it feels very good. Good, fine. That is an option. That's a really good option, which the pandemic taught us. But to say कि um, because this thing frustrates me, I will just cut out large chunks of activities that I like to do, I think is a dangerous thing for seniors to do. That's the last thing I have to say on this matter. And I would like to open this up to anybody who has anything to say about it, any experiences, any agreement, disagreement with this subject. For anybody who came in late, the question is from a couple who says that they are having a problem being tended to, understood, and served, whether it's in the restaurant, whether it's at the bank, whether it's by a repairman, whether it's by even at the social level they've added, where you're sitting, but you're not heard. Everybody's just saying their own thing and not connecting with you. And we are looking at some of the strategies to deal with this. Instead of, sometimes I feel I should just stop meeting people. And those strategies, to sum up, involve sometimes technology, which is, to sum up what, say, a repairman is going to do for you, and send him a WhatsApp message. So next day he doesn't come blank, like the person with the movie we referenced, 51st Dates, where you start from scratch again the next day. Or whether it's your daily health, or whether it's a relative, whether a summing up, which does not look like you are giving them homework or demanding, that this is a list and you better adhere to it. It has to be put across as an aid, It's an aid for you and it's an aid for the other person, is one of the things we were saying about getting past this without raising your voice and repeating yourself. That was the biggest frustration in the question. How do I do this without becoming unpleasant about it? That was one of the key things in this question. First, how do we make sure that people are registering what we're saying? how do they acknowledge? How do we get them to acknowledge? And then do we get them to complete that task? Or at least tell us a time frame in which we can expect the completion of that task. Okay, this is what I have to say about this. If anybody wants to add anything, please go ahead. I don't know if anybody has, I'm sure everybody has faced this feeling. Yes, Sunita, do you have your hand up?
My thing is, I don't know if it's anything to do with age. It's just that I've always been a listener, so I've really don't know how to get a point put across, kind of,
Hmm,
forcefully.
hmm, hmm, hmm.
I'm so used to being the quiet one that sometimes I don't find words to express
And do you,
what I want.
when you go back home, you feel I should have said this thing? I don't mean an
Yes,
argument, but I should have contributed this to the conversation, right?
yes.
Yeah,
Sometimes that happens.
yeah.
Like recently, I have a friend who's suffering from cancer, and kind of like the doctors have kind of given up on her. I
I
mean,
see.
given up on the treatment. There's nothing more to be done, they say.
I see.
But I went online. I mean, I'm interested in, following all these videos on medical stuff and all that.
I
So
see.
I read about some repurposed medication which has found to be, it's not like any airy gairy kind of thing. It's like established
I see.
doctors and, research studies that
Acha.
they're quoting
I
that have
see.
proved to be beneficial. Not that they cure the cancer, but it improves the quality of life. And
Okay.
yeah, so I tried to put this across to her, but
Hmm.
I mean, it didn't, she wouldn't accept it. Like, it was as if I'm kind of spouting some sort of
Mumbo jumbo.
mumbo jumbo,
Hmm.
basically. Yeah.
Hmm.
So I don't know how to,
Yeah.
I don't know if I should convince her. There are other friends who tell me just leave it,
Yeah.
uh, just let her go with her doctors or.
Right. Yes. Correct. But I wonder, to go back to one of the tools that we are talking about to be heard, I
Hmm.
wonder just sending a very affectionate, very sober, small note about this with the information embedded in it.
Ah,
With that it could be a thing where you're not looking for that right opportunity, you know,
ah,
the conversation in a room where then you
right.
are hamstrung by one thing is yourself, you say you are quiet, the other thing is the
Hmm.
situation is so delicate,
Hmm.
and where you've already read that maybe it will be seen as I know exactly what you're saying, I know what you're saying. It's not easy
Hmm.
to cross say an alternative thing um, to somebody, or the other way around, somebody is totally
Hmm.
sold on alternative medicine, not easy to tell them to now try
Hmm.
mainstream
Hmm.
medicine. It's difficult.
Hmm.
So I wonder if it could be in the form of a very heartfelt and very informative communication,
No.
whether it's an email or a letter or something. And where
Hmm.
it's clear that you are not expecting a reply or anything. You have enough concern to feel I want you to have access to this information. That's all.
Right.
So you're not hard selling any technology, any treatment or
Treatment.
any person.
Hmm.
You're not hard selling it. You're just saying
No.
that I read about it. So what comes across is that, you are concerned. You're
Hmm.
concerned and you're not pushing something. You're just saying, ये भी करके देखेंगे क्या? Bas, just
Yeah.
leaving it out there for the person to pick up if she wants to.
Right. That sounds. That
Yeah.
sounds something that can be done.
Done.
Yes.
And if the person is not at all convinced, nothing is to be ever said again. There's no awkward
About
silence.
it.
She doesn't have to say, she just never has to refer to the letter again, which is also
Yeah.
fine by you, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When I read this letter,
Hmm.
I also showed it to a couple of people who are not here now. I mean, I texted them this letter and said, and the way they wrote saying these people are my soul sister and soul brother. Somebody wrote to me saying, "My God, I'm feeling this every day." And
Oh my, yeah.
yeah, I can't attend your session, but I am dealing with this every day. And including somebody wrote to me saying that, have you seen a policeman at a signal also being attention deficit? From under his hand while he's looking at his phone, there are scooterists going, three of them sitting on a scooter and going under his hand. What more, what else will there be but chaos? So great sense of hopelessness from some of the reactions that came. But I do feel
Yeah.
that we, as the Genesis Life song that they have goes, "Ki picture abhi baki hai." We have to not be discounted. We have to find more arrows in our quiver to deal with this, tools, maybe not weapons, but tools to deal with
Mm.
this changing form of communication, or the huge lack of communication that we experience it as lack of communication. And
Mm.
we have to engage with it in new ways, maybe. you know I, I
Mm.
i i can imagine some people, when I say, why don't you make a little storyboard out of it and write the tasks, say, for the person who comes in and cleans your house or does whatever, and tell her, please look at Monday's task, please look at this. I know there'll be people who'll say, what is this? Yeah, but what is so difficult to just remember?
Mm.
We don't know what is so difficult, but we now live in a world where it is difficult.
Yeah.
um, you know, it's not like that clerk at the officer, the clerk, whoever at the counter,
Mm.
even in a private bank. It's not that he may be necessarily multitasking, but the mind has turned into this chopped up thing where they're not able. In his mind, He's jumping around. Who knows what else? Because they have just been, taught and rewarded to, and not just rewarded but punished for not doing it, which is having all this juggling everything at the same time. They're all overworked. They're all clearly overworked. When I say that when we were younger, we could finish one thing and then do another thing for somebody else, it could also be a luxury we are talking about that we had in our generation, of being able to take our time over certain things. Maybe they don't have.
Yes, definitely. Even the maids of today,
Yeah.
where they would work in just one house and be there for the whole day,
Yes. Yes.
now they have so many homes to
Correct.
work in.
Correct.
Mm.
Correct. Yes. Yes. Yeah. And so many other things. And
Yeah.
the mind getting really chopped up with the phone, the existence of the phone. You're watching
Mm.
reels, you're coming to work also watching reels, you're texting somebody, you're watching something, exchanging jokes. There is no, um, this is a completely new, chopped up thought process that we are all, it's got normalized in the population
You
because
can't
everybody's
reverse
doing
it,
it,
right?
but it's not. Yeah, I think,
Sorry.
but one will have to. So one of the things about reversing it is also interjecting, like we are saying, which is,
Like I just did.
I know you want to be, yeah, I know you want to be all over the place, but
Uh,
can you follow this list? I know you're going to buy my nails and hammer and pipe piece to the market. Here's what you need to get, so that you're not jumping out 6 times, calling 20 people, and that guy is telling, you must have been at this end of the conversation, where your carpenter
mm.
or your plumber is shouting at the shopkeeper saying, "Arey bola to tere ko, I wanted 12 roll plugs. You didn't give me this, that kind of." They're all in it. They're all victims of this, victims
Mm.
of perpetrators, either ways. So um, I'm wondering, like, these three, four things, this communicating devices that we're talking about, either socially where you actually interject, or physically like this with lists, or a recap. I do this counseling work, and only in the last 5 or 8 years, one-on-one counseling part of it, in 5, 8 years, I have had
Mm.
to slowly, just organically came to me that you need to give younger people, after they reach home, a WhatsApp message with a takeaway of today's session. Takeaway. In little bullet points. Otherwise, it just whooshes out of their head. Some of them will honestly say, everything you said made so much sense in the session, I can't remember what you said. In Marathi, mग मी काय करू? They'll go home and say, मग मी काय करू? And for somebody my age, it was, wow, if we spent an hour and 10 minutes on something, but there's no point getting hassled. You have to understand that the receiving mechanism for these people has changed, because he'll be out of my door and 40 other things will assail him. We even as older people, we know it, that you're planning to call somebody or write something down on your phone, and there'll be 12 messages, and you will get completely hijacked by those itself. And so you have to really train yourself to say, no, this will not run away. I'll come back to this, but I have to attend to what I have to do first. But this thing, so as a device, instead of getting hassled, saying, Are, we spent, what I think is quality 60, 70 minutes in a intensive counseling session for which you paid me or your mother paid me. And you're blank when you go home. Forget that array and all of that. The device is to give either 3 actionable things. Kal se ye, why don't you try this, or this takeaway. What is your takeaway from this? And which is really almost from our school days, moral of the story kind of. You remember the little sentence at the end of a fable? Almost those kind of things that you said. Either a generalization. It is the Navneet guide to counseling. You'll come for counseling and then the counselor gives you a Navneet guide ka important points at the end. So we do live in that world, I'm saying. So for this, what Bina and Ashutosh or some of my friends or some of us here deal with, it's important to break it down into, if they are multitasking, then to break it down into tasks that they can deal with. Somebody who you are working with, who you feel is... but I do think, one last thing, I do feel that it's important to, as I said earlier, step out of the actual interaction and say your say sometimes. Which is, if you'll acknowledge, instead of going on saying, hello, can you, hello, I've been here for 10 minutes, what's happening? Is to say, if you would just acknowledge all of us standing here, it'll help if we know that you've taken it on board. In a kind way, in a compassionate way. I know you have a plate full, but you need to tell me, then I'll stop badgering you, is one thing that needs to be possibly articulated. And the same thing in a social situation, where you say, I want to say something. It has to be leached off. None of you guys are listening, everybody's speaking their own thing, mere ko kuch bolna hai. Not that. But to take yourself seriously and interject is possibly a tool, Hi, Dipali. Hi. You have anything to tell us? Your headphone, your mic.
Yeah. To be heard by the significant other is often the most difficult, most challenging thing on the planet. Because you are also part of the furniture, you are part of the background, and you're saying, come and have breakfast. At least acknowledge, yes, I will come, or I'll say breakfast is ready. I've stopped waiting for a companionable breakfast. ठीक है, बन गया, come and have it. At least acknowledge, okay. And if I have to say 3 times and then the 4th time there is irritation in the response. An irritated response is hurtful. Say me like, I'm the idiot who's telling you that your breakfast is ready. You've not made your own breakfast anyway. So getting significant others to listen, to also treat us with compassion, that
yes.
is also important.
I wonder if that same thing applies. I'm sure you tried it. But with what I was saying, where you step out of the interaction and say, I need you to do this for me. I wonder.
See, if it's very, very serious, then I actually tell him, listen, I need your attention. And he does listen if it's serious enough. But something as daily and as mundane as breakfast or lunch or whatever, it's just an annoyance, an unnecessary annoyance, because food is part of everyone's everyday life.
Yeah.
Nahi banayenge, then I might get into trouble for not making it. So you never know.
I wonder if again you may have tried it also, which is
happily starve.
Yeah, acha.
He'll happily starve.
Acha.
Or he'll take out juice and something and now ho gaya. I mean,
no. I was not suggesting to starve the man. I was not suggesting that you lock him out of the kitchen. I'm just saying whether you keep it and say it once and just leave it at that, and not be engaged with.
Yes, that's what I do nowadays. I don't engage. I say, theek hai. I say it once loud and clear. Now you hear or you don't hear. Or you eat at 12. But if he eats at 12, then lunch gets, everything gets pushed back. So it's a bit problematic.
Yeah. Correct. Yeah.
But there are many good things, so therefore we adjust with these minor scheduling difficulties. So they're not minor, actually. They're very annoying, but in the larger scheme of things, okay, we live with them.
Yeah. But that thing of not being heard, which we are talking about, it is.
I'm often not heard, which is annoying. Or even in social settings, I have found that there are men who will not listen to women speak, which is awfully annoying.
Yeah. Correct. Yeah.
And then you say, I mean, why should I even make the effort of trying to say something interesting in their social settings? So they have invited us, and you don't have the time to listen to the woman speak.
Yeah. And we very consciously don't do any man bashing on this forum, but there is a tendency to either not listen or mansplain, right? Jumps right in. And in Marathi, it's a joke that me and my few Marathi friends have, which is a lot of men will start a conversation. If you're talking about something, nai, that's asasta. Nai, that's asasta. Meaning everything you say dismissed, this is how it is. So it's a form of being heard, but heard only to be for a counterpoint.
To be dismissed.
Yeah, dismissed. Yeah. So for which again, when we are talking about finding ways to communicate and be heard, is to then very firmly say, I haven't finished yet, or I don't think you've understood my point. It'll have to be done. I think it was not done for a long time, but it'll have to be done without lambing into the person as such. So
I honestly find it easier to just withdraw and tune out and listen to my own thoughts, which are far more interesting.
Yeah. Which is also what in the question towards the end they've said, and the suggestion, instead of not at all going to some of these places, is to really disengage. And I deliberately use the word to engage in perfunctory and casual conversations. Perfunctory.
Yeah.
You're not giving your core to that interaction at all.
Correct.
So that's one thing.
Yeah.
I had another question for today, but since this one was linked with last week's question about how to speak so that older people will talk to you, and this is the sort of opposite end of it, I kept this question aside. But let me, before we close, anyone else wants to say anything, please do contribute. You can put on your camera and put up your hand. Okay, so the next week's theme is the concept of what is called the silent and invisible divorce. How to be together and yet apart. It's a serious topic. It's a very, very serious and heart-wrenching, not angry, but very lost and extremely a letter which has come, which is somebody who's making their peace with something but wants to know whether this is the way to go. And I'm taking this question up, and it will relate to one of our earlier questions where a lady said this: as they're growing older and apart, her husband tends to be dismissive about her friends. You remember there was that thing about her friends, about her pursuits, about what she talks, what she watches, tends to be depressive, dismissive. And I remember saying then that one of the things is that this man himself sounds depressed, really. But it's coming out as, toxic masculinity. But it could be just pure depression. This thing is vaguely on those lines, but a much more serious solution that this person is asking about. So we'll look at that, the concept of the silent and invisible divorce. Yeah, how to be together and yet apart. That's the theme. Okay, shall we stop here then today? Yeah, thanks everybody for coming.
If you must.
Yes, it's nice to sit here and chat. Yeah, it is nice to sit and chat. And shoot a few holes here and there.
Yes.
Okay, right. And Krish, will you put up the number and the details on the chat of where people
Yes,
can
yes, I'll put it up.
Yeah, where people can write to the app. And Krish, I was
Yes,
just
yes.
thinking out loud, we can talk about this later. I wonder if we should also provide an email address, because I think a lot of people of a certain age are much more comfortable with sending off emails than WhatsApping. WhatsApping is a much more functional thing. I wonder.
Yeah.
Just a
Yeah,
thought.
we can do that. We can
No?
do that. I will
Yeah.
talk with Charlie
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
we'll make an ID for
Yes.
Dilki
Yeah.
Baatein.
Yes.
Is it good?
Yes. 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 That
Yeah.
will be wonderful. Yeah.
Okay. I'll just put up the number on the chat and
Yes.
then we can continue the event.
Correct. Yeah. Now, how long will it stay on YouTube, this live session? Several people have been asking why they can't see the earlier sessions on YouTube. And I'm waiting for that. I know that you all are going to edit those sessions, right?
So the thing is, we put up the videos are up for a week.
Achha, for a week.
For a week it is up, and it depends. Like if some of the video has good content that we can like use for any upcoming. Like if you have seen Weekend Adda, which is on Saturday, so they made a Valentine's Day special episode. So we needed to make a content out of that immediately. So it was taken down a bit jaldi to edit.
Okay.
So it's like that.
Okay. So you guys, but you are getting to place, but a whole week it will be on the session. I think some were not. Mine, some went early because there were quite a few people who follow it later, but had texted me saying why it's very difficult to find it. Where is it?
So we can provide personal links for the videos if you want, but I'll talk with Shadi if we can put it up for a bit longer, if we can create a separate playlist for it. So it will be easy for everyone to access it.
And I think I did get a reply from Janice that they want to also edit them a bit, because just as we are chatting, it may not be so interesting to watch for somebody who's not been inside the chat. So let's see what they do with it.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Signing off now. Bye, everybody. Thanks for
Bye. Thank you.
See you. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye, Deepali.
Bye, Sunita. I had a funeral to attend, so that's why I got
late. Okay. So sorry.
Yeah. No, I missed everyone, missed a lot. I said, now I'll go.
Right. I also came in a bit late, 5-10 minutes.
Okay. So hope to catch everyone next week.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Bye.